Peace and blessings. This is your brother Gabar coming to you live from the Boogie Down Bronx. This is IAMFITPodcast. Thank you for having me today in your living rooms. It's been a while. You know, I decided to accept tonight's show that they may just take down my show. I want to approach a little different today. So I want everybody to bear with me. And I want to kind of give you guys a story. I want to give you guys a little background about what has been my thoughts about these feelings that I am going to be expressing myself tonight with in regards of this, what's going on with the world today. You know, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys saw the title. I don't think that Jewish people are running the world, but let's have a conversation. You know, I'm a Generation X, 50 years old, grew up, was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s, became a man in the 90s, and here I am. And as far as I've been alive, and as far as I can remember, there's always been this talk about Jewish people secretly running the world. And that's always been a thing. It doesn't matter what circles of friends. Most of my friends were blacks and Latinos. Had some few white guys here and there. Not many Asians. I mean Chinese. Not many Middle Eastern. Maybe a Middle Eastern guy here too. I don't remember, but mostly blacks and Latino. And there's always been a thing within the ghetto, urban, life, which I grew up most of my life in. The Bronx. I think we lived a little bit in Brooklyn. I forget. I got to ask my mom. But it's always been a thing. Yeah, those Jewish people, they got, everything unlocked. They control the media. They control the government. They control the banks. And tonight I'm going to challenge that. I'm going to challenge that, and I'm going to be fair and impartial. But I want to have a conversation on both sides of the equation. I don't think that Jewish people run the world. I don't. But maybe there is a little bit to blame on both sides. Maybe Jewish people are to blame. I want to go into some videos that these videos may kick me out of YouTube today. And if that happens, I'm going to be going to Rumble. So make sure you subscribe there. I need 100 subscribers to go live. So if my channel is no longer here by tomorrow, I'll be in Rumble. But I mean no offense. I'm just having a conversation here. And I'm speaking today to Jewish people, particularly. And I'm speaking today particularly to the Jewish people, or the people in Europe that are claiming to be the descendants of Israel, or the Judeans of Israel, the exile of Judea in 70 AD. I know there's other groups in the world. You got the Falashin Jews, the Ethiopian Jews, the Syrian Jews, you got the Yemenite Jews, you got the Coptic Jews. Well, I think the Coptic Jews, I already mentioned that. You got people here in America, African Americans believing they're Jew. I believe I am a descendant of the diaspora. When I did my research on my family, the Rodriguez, I believe my family were a group that got kicked out of Spain, which are they are known today as the Sephardic Jews. Rodriguez is the actual Hebrew name. But let's have a conversation. And I want to be fair. I'm going to say, okay, let's just say that is a lie. And let me give you guys a reasoning why I don't believe the Jewish people rule the world. When you look at the world in its totality, right, you got the Chinese Communist Party. You could fairly say they're running China. Last time I checked, there's no Jewish people running China, as far as I know. You got the Middle East. You got the Saudi family, one of the most powerful, richest families in the world. Okay, they're clearly running that region, right? So just if you're gonna say ruling the world, it will have to mean the world, right? I would think so, right? So I believe I'm right, and I gave some examples of why I believe I'm right. But do I believe the Jewish people has some influence and political power? Yeah, I don't think that's anti-Semite for saying that. I don't think that's a bad thing. Do I believe that there may be a little bit misunderstanding on what's going on with the Jewish people in regards to what they believe? And let me give you guys a scenario. I want to play some videos in a few minutes. Fair use. Please, YouTube, do not kick me out, because this is all about having a discussion, a fair discussion about this subject. By this time, everybody knows the Black Hebrew Israelite community. They're out there in Times Square, all over the place, in the highways and byways. And for the record, and I'm probably going to lose some fans, I renounce those guys. I'm not dealing with any hate group in any way, shape, or form. The Bible is not about hate, it's about truth. Yeah, God has a chosen people. But it's not about hate. The Jews are supposed to be a light to the Gentiles. So if you're dealing with hate, this is not your show. But maybe, let me just throw this on the table. Maybe the problem is not, and God forgive me what I'm about to say, maybe the problem is not the Jewish people, but the problem is that God has a chosen people. Let me explain. The concept of a chosen people. We could hear the same rhetoric on both sides. The Black Hebrew Israelites and the Jewish people in regards of they both being God's chosen people. And we do know what we hear with these brothers out there spearing their hatred, bending the scriptures. Everybody's an Israelite, even the Gentiles. Ruth is an Israelite. Cornelius is an Israelite. Job is an Israelite. Anybody, Uriah the Hittite, man, he is an Israelite, right? That's all. I renounce all that nonsense. But we could clearly hear and see that the Black Hebrew Israelites are dealing with hate and so forth, and they're proud about it. They're not even hiding it. But what's the difference between that group and the Jewish people? That group, the Black Hebrew Israelite, are powerless. They really don't have any political power. So when they saying, they hate white people, they hate this, they hate that, people are like, it's a hate group, but there's no power there. Now, will we be saying the same thing about the Black Hebrew Israelite if they did have power? Because I'm going to show you some videos that sounds very similar to what the Black Hebrew Israelites are saying, but it's not being said by Black Hebrew Israelites. So maybe the problem is the concept of being born or being taught or being raised with the concept that you are God-chosen people. You're God-chosen people. You're God-chosen people. You're blessed. Can that mess you up a little bit? Can you start looking at other people less than? Unconsciously speaking. Let's talk about it today. So I'm going to play some videos. I hope, like I said, I don't get banned. I'm going to pause a little because it's a little blurry. And I'm going to read to make sure that you guys understand what you guys are seeing. Okay? And I don't mean any disrespect to nobody. I'm not here to spread any form of hate, none whatsoever. I just want to have a conversation. Because a conversation needs to be had. And this conversation, tonight I'm going to be focusing on the Jewish people. And I want to talk to Jewish people. If anybody comes from the Jewish community, call in. I want to ask you some questions about this. Because maybe the problem is the culture of being chosen. And I do believe God have a chosen, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not saying that I'm going against what the Bible says. But maybe that is a problem, that when people are not in the right state of mind, they could take the concept of being chosen a little bit out of control. It could get to their head a little bit. I mean, we could clearly, see folks within the Black Hebrew Israelite community, and we could clearly see that clearly got to their head, right? So I want to play a video, fair use. I'm gonna pause it. This is a gentleman, I believe, who is Jewish. And I don't think you're going to be able to find this thing on YouTube. You may. I'm not sure. I didn't get it from YouTube. And these are conversations they're having. They're speaking in Hebrew, and there's a translator. So I'm going to play the video and pause it, and I'm going to read it. It says, "Of course, there are Jews who don't act right." So let's play the video. Fair use. Okay, wait a minute. Let me just put a little sound. Okay, it says, "What I don't understand is all the non-Jews are, and did you call them, beast? They are no direction. They have no direction. The word human refer to the image of God." The word human refers to the image of God. Okay. He is the image of God. And I think that he's referring to the Jew. That is the meaning of human. Okay? We changed it, meaning the Jewish people changed it. It's acting more human. You need to act like a human being, but in principle, it is based on God, and people are based on God because we are in his image. So we call us human, and the non-Jews are, God made them so they will serve the Jew. All the non-Jews that you see all around the world, billions, they exist just for the Jews' benefit. We don't see it, so we don't know exactly. Hold on. Today we are still in exile. So automatically they don't yet serve us completely. Each of us, okay. When the Messiah will come, each one of us will have how many? Thousands, hundreds. So according to their doctrine, when the Messiah comes, they're going to have 2,800 slaves, each Jew. Okay. In the meantime, the Messiah is not here. So how do they serve us now? Right? I think they build apartments and houses. How do they build for us? They serve the Jews. There are also Jews who do that work. Hardly, okay. I want to play another one, okay. This is another Jew. So maybe the problem is the Jewish doctrine. Now, remember earlier I said that when you go into the Black Hebrew Israelite community, they're saying the same thing, but they don't have no power. So maybe the concept is that, let's just say the table was turned and it was the black people that came from Eastern Europe, and they were the Jews. They would probably look at Goyams, Gentiles, in the same way. Maybe if it was the Chinese people thinking they were Jews, they would look at us as Goyim. If it was the Arabic people were the Jews, they would look at them as Goyim, or you understand, as beasts. Maybe it's the culture. I hope I'm not losing you guys. Okay, this is a little blurry. It's exactly.
Vous allez le payer très cher, les Européens.
Okay, and my apologies, guys. I'm gonna try to let it play. That says I will no longer place because let's see here. Let me try to maybe bring this down a little bit if I could read it a little better. It says because all the evil you have done, and I think he's referring to the. Let's go back here.
Totalement tombé. Donc je vous pose la question. C'est une bonne nouvelle.
I'm gonna let it play because I can't. It's too blurry. I can't read it.
Excellente nouvelle. Vous allez le payer très cher, les Européens.
So you have do evil. Let's see here, and you will have because you. What it says here, because all the evil you have done to Israel. I think he's referring to Christianity. You will pay for.
Quand l'Italie disparaîtra, quand Edom.
Yeah, when Edom, because the Jews view that the Europeans that established Christianity from their narrative are the Edomites, right? It says when the Edomites, what is the Christian headquarters, which come from.
C'est pour ça que le QG de la chrétienté qui vient de Esav.
I don't know what that is. I'm going to let it play.
C'est ce que veut faire l'islam. L'islam, c'est le ballet d'Israël.
Okay, I'm going to play one more. This one is in English, okay? So you guys could kind of get a sense what the Jewish guys, their doctrine is all about, right?
The thing that makes Judaism dangerous to everybody, to every race, to every nation, to every idea, is that we smash things that aren't true. We don't believe in the boundaries of nation state. We don't believe in.
So you hear what he said? We do not believe in the boundaries of nation state. Now, if you ask a black Hebrew Israelite about what belongs to the Hebrew Israelites, what they're gonna say? The world belongs to the Hebrew Israelite. The world was formed for us. So maybe a problem is that if you take a book, the Bible, and you misunderstand it, and you begin to believe that you're God's chosen people, and maybe you are, but you're not looking at the totality of the scriptures and or the fulfillment of the law, which is Christ. Right? Because Christ, he gave the understanding about how we're supposed to treat the Gentiles. And the scripture says, if it be possible, be at peace with all man. So maybe if you remove Christ, this is what happens. And maybe we are focusing too much on the people, too much on the people, but more on the understanding that we will all probably be thinking the same way if it wasn't for Christ.
The ideas of these individual gods that protect individual groups of people. These are all artificial constructions, and Judaism really teaches us how to see that. In a sense, our detractors have us right, in that we are a corrosive force. We're breaking down the false gods of all nations.
So from their perspective, they feel they're doing God's work. You get what I'm saying? Maybe these are not Jewish people running around saying, we're going to rule the world. No, maybe in their perspective, their God is the true God. And every other God should not be respected. Do they got a point? I mean, as Christians and Bible believers, don't we believe the same thing? Didn't Paul says that all the gods are nothing? There's only one true God. So is the rhetoric is one thing, but how you accept the rhetoric is another thing. Fair use.
And all people, because they're not real. And that's very upsetting to people.
So, and I hope you guys get what I'm going with this. If there's any Jewish people that is listening, please call in. The number is 646-450-2013. 646 646-450 2014. Because it's like this, guys. We have to start having a conversation about these things. We all know what's going on with Kanye West, and I'm going to kind of give you a backdrop on what's going on with Kanye West. So basically, Mr. Kanye, or formerly known as Kanye, now I think he's going by Ye. I think the first thing that he did was, I think he went, I believe he had an interview with Tucker Carlson. And he began to speak about, what's the gentleman's name? The son-in-law of Trump, Jerry Kushner. He's the guy on the thumbnail next to Trump on, my thumbnail, right? That he is Jerry Kushner. I mean, Jerry Kushner is Donald Trump's son-in-law. He is married to one of Donald Trump's daughter. And he was the man that Donald Trump put in charge with this Abrahamic peace treaty in Israel or in the Middle East. First time in history that the Jews and Arabs began to, or different Middle Eastern people began to put a peace treaty. I don't know if it got derailed because of Biden, but he was involved with that. But he was also involved in other businesses. And he's the gentleman that Mr. Mr. Kanye West, formerly known Kanye West, I think he goes by Jay now, or Ye, he was a little upset because he was doing some dealings behind the scenes with Kanye's business, and that he had with his wife at the time, Kim Kardashian, that he owned some portion of the company, of his own company, and he didn't know about it. And he felt that he was a handler. Now, Kanye West, he's all the way in regards of believing that the Jews run the world, and we're gonna go into the tweet that he put out there. Let me see if I could show you guys. I could read it real quick. Let me just remove or put my face out the way. You know, let me just move it a little bit this way. Hold on, guys. Bear with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me put this over here. No, let me put this over here. The chat. Let me just remove the chat for 2 seconds. Okay, perfect. So let me just switch it over. This is what Mr. Kanye West got kicked out of the social media. I think Twitter or Facebook or whatever. It came out in the news, right? It says, I'm a bit, and I don't know who he was speaking to, or he was just speaking to the audience, but this is what kicked him out of the Twitter. It says, I am a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, he wrote. And I guess the article is quoting what he said. The funny thing is that I'm actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jews also. You guys have toyed with me and tried to blackmail anyone whoever expose your agenda. So obviously that didn't go too well, and he got kicked out. So, you know, like I said, there's been these type of scenarios since I've been a kid. I mean, since the 80s and 90s, people been calling anti-Semitic from, what's his name, Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, you name it. Everybody, even before I had been born, from Michael X and Martin Luther King, has been called anti-Semitic. And it's usually come from a place of somebody is criticizing something about something that Jews did, and then boom, they're in the news, or they get, you know, typecast as anti-Semitic. But my Jewish brothers and sisters, is it probably the culture that you was born in, that you was raised in? And I do believe that there are Jewish people that believe that they are God-chosen people. And they say, hey, the world is our oyster. The world it was given to us. The Messiah is going to come any day now, put us back in power. That is what is being said in the Bible, that the Jews will rule at the end, right? That all nations would come to Jerusalem and bow down their knees to the Messiah. As Christians, we believe that. Now, they're waiting for the Messiah. We believe that Christ was the Messiah and he's returning. But it's part of the problem, the culture. The culture. If it was black people, Hispanic people, Arabic people, you name it, they thought they were God-chosen people and they were reading the same scriptures, would they be doing the same thing? And Jewish people have to have a conversation about this because, you know, I was having a conversation with a Jewish a friend of mine. And we were having a conversation about different Jewish people or different Israelites or people that are claiming to be Jews in the diaspora or different parts of the world. You know, Coptic Jews, Sephardic Jews, you know, Yemenite Jews and so forth, so on. And there is now conversation about the different Jewish people, different people claiming to be descendants of the Jews coming together and things of that nature. But when you hear the word Jew or Jewish, you usually associate the Eastern European phenotype. And I was telling him that that's perhaps a problem. That maybe if you do accept, because he does, a Jewish friend, he does accept that the Jews are from different colors in different parts of the world. Okay. But why is it that's not promoted in Hollywood? If for whatever reason, the Jewish people that are in Hollywood and have some form of prestige or pull, why they don't cast an Ethiopian Jew, a Yemenite Jew? You get what I'm saying? Why you don't help your brothers out? Why you don't only helping the Eastern European sect of Jewry? That could come across as a bit racist. And so what I'm saying, my Jewish brothers and sisters, maybe you blame, some blame is there, and maybe you're to blame because you've been a bit, I would say, separatist. If you do accept that the Jewish people are all over the world and they're going to look like everybody else, or they're going to have different phenotypes, why are we not coming together and addressing these issues? Why are we not having Igbo Jews and Falashin Jews and Ethiopian Jews? And even many of the African-American stock, it's come out that many of them goes back to the Jewish or the Hebrew Israelite culture. So instead of counseling Kanye West or what's the other fellow, Nick Cannon, instead of doing that same routine, since I have experienced that same routine since I've been a kid. Why you don't invite Kanye? Why you don't invite people that are criticizing you and have a dialect? I'm just being somewhere in the middle. I want to be a fair referee here. I don't want to, I want to put aside my personal feelings and my personal thoughts here. Maybe you Jewish people are to blame for this mystery that the Jews rule the world. And I already, said earlier that I don't believe you guys rule in the world. I believe you guys are influential. But I believe gay people are influential now. I believe women are influential. They got, what is power? What is influence? Political, right? The people that are in power by the people you cannot criticize. And listen, good for you. I'm not knocking the hustle. I envy Jewish people to some degree in regards of their unity and their political might. But maybe you're part of the problem. Maybe we have to start having more conversation and stop with this cancel him. Because we all know with this cancel culture, what's happening here, right? Because when you cancel people, it only makes them stronger. And we're not in the 1940s. We're not in 1950s. We're not in 1960s. Black people don't care anymore. And when you have a black billionaire like Kanye West, I don't think counseling him it's only gonna empower him. We all saw what happened with Mr. Andrew Tate when they canceled him. He became more powerful after the fact. People are talking about him more now after he got so-called canceled. I'm just throwing that olive branch. I just want to have a discussion. I'm going to call probably Moshe in a few weeks, maybe bring him to the show. I used to work with him, Jewish brother. Let's have a conversation. It's not about being offended, getting offended or just have a conversation. Because things are not getting better, things are getting worse. And trust me, man, this election is going to be a doozy. I'm going to get my popcorn, get my drinks, and just enjoy the show because it's going to be a doozy. 2024 election is going to be something else. And let me throw something else in the table, my Jewish brothers and sisters. I remember when in Europe, specifically, let me go back to my people. I believe I go back to the people in Spain. I believe I'm a Sephardic Jew. My family goes back, the Rodriguez go back to that lineage. You want to see receipts, send an email. I'll send you all the receipts. IAMFITPodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to my brother David. He got me. He's like, yep. He got all the receipts. And I know, we were called Negrito, New Christians, Latinos, a part of our survival. And I think you guys have to do the same thing too. But we're going to, let me put it aside. Let me go. You guys have to do that. What I'm about to mention, you guys did that too. That the Sephardic Jews in Spain had two choices. They either convert to Catholicism or get exiled. Some of us got converted to Catholicism. And we were called New Christians. And when you hear a lot of the Jewish rhetoric in regards of what they need to do to survive in Europe, they need to sometimes hide their Jewishness and become Christians or become whatever, become Italian, become this to survive because Jewish hatred. Okay, I'm not knocking your hustle. But maybe that culture continue after the prosecution in Europe that, Jewish people sometimes change their names, yada, yada, yada. Oh, he's Jewish. I didn't know, yada, yada, yada. That you guys don't mean anything by it, but the stigma now is there. I'm just saying, maybe I want to be fair here. I want to be fair. I already made a disclaimer that Jews do not rule the world. I don't believe that. But I'm just looking at it from the outside in. I'm looking in. I'm just like observing everything. I'm just looking at this from a fair and balanced, fair and balanced scenario. Do you guys agree with what I read? And what we saw that in the those Jews in Israel that were saying that we Jewish people are the only people that are the image of God. The Goyams are beasts. They work for us. Is that part of the problem? And even if you believe it's true, is that part of the problem? Let's have a conversation. Is that part of the problem? So if anybody wants to have a conversation, if anybody disagree with me, let's have a conversation. Call in 646-450-2013. Or I have the Zoom link. I could bring you in through Zoom. You just make sure you have not a lot of noise and good audio, good video. And let's have a conversation. Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm selling out. Maybe I'm, not speaking truth to power. But maybe all of us would have been in the same scenario or doing the same thing if we had the same, I would say, power and prestige, so to speak. Or maybe we had the same outlook that we're God-chosen people. If anybody grew up with that concept from day one, you God-chosen people, you're human. Everybody else is not human. They're all beasts. Is that healthy to teach our kids that? Maybe we have to change the rhetoric. Maybe we have to say, act up, boy, act up, girl, because you're God-chosen people and you're supposed to be a light to the Gentiles. You are a God ambassador. Learn how to be fair. Learn how to be righteous. Maybe we have to change the rhetoric. We have a phone call.
Call from Trent. To accept, press 1.
Brother Trent, what say you? Long time no hear. What's going on, Captain?
Me brethren, what's good with you, man?
We're here. We're having a conversation. I'm trying not to get kicked out of YouTube.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm looking at this objectively, right? I did say the disclaimer. I don't believe Jewish people rule the world, but maybe there's a little adjustment that Jewish people need to do to remove the stigma off of them. Or maybe you do believe the Jews rule the world. What say you? I say my piece. What say you?
Well, I mean, historically speaking, there have been different conglomerates or empires that have had a time to rule, right? Even Israelites. So I don't think that it's a racist remark to mention what is quite evident those who are in power today. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Everyone should get their turn to have rulership, if you will, and allow for the people from a democratic standpoint to look and see, okay, is this the type of rulership that we rejoice in? Is this a beneficial rulership or is it not? So, I mean, anyone who I mean, let's be honest. All you have to do is just look at all of the corporations, LLCs, if you will, the companies that are in power, and it's quite evident. And I would say it's just more than just Jewish people. It's also the Arabians. They have a lot of money, Saudi Arabians, as well as China. So I would say China, the Jewish nation state of Israel, and I would also say the United Arab Emirates.
There was a lady, I forgot her name. I believe she wrote a book about the Vatican. And in this book, she mentioned that the Jewish people are not the one ruling the world. It's actually the Vatican. I'm not siding with her. I'm just saying what she's saying. I'm just reporting the news here. That the Jewish people has been put on front of the line as the, all evil to deflect from the Vatican. Because, have you ever heard that conspiracy theory? And what do you think about that? That, because the only reason I'm saying this, I've been hearing about this thing about the Jewish people ruling the world since I was a child. I mean, literally, right? And I'm not saying it's true or it's not, it's fake. I'm just saying, I'm just exploring the space here, baby. And maybe it's someone else, like the Vatican. Now, it's funny how if I say the Vatican, the Pope is the Antichrist, I've been hearing that since a kid as well. I've been hearing that since I've been a little boy as well, the Catholics and so forth, so on. But, maybe we are out here just waiting for the Messiah, waiting for God to return and send his son, and we'll figure out who's really ruling the world. And maybe, because I think you and I had a conversation years ago, or maybe months ago, about that. I believe that it's not so much about this, about baby eating, child molesting, demon worshiping people. Oh, I'm not saying they don't exist, but it's just more about corruption. The love of money is the root of all evil. And maybe that's all it is. Just people just chasing money. And we're all like little rats in the maze, just trying to get a little cheese. And some people are better than that, and that are than others. I don't know. What else you got to add to this conversation?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I think the corruption or the corruptibility of individual people is what causes for the enemy to be able to have rulership, right? So I think it's man's desires, wicked desires, that ultimately causes for corruption, that causes for the dilapidation of society, the brokenness of families, the brokenness of societies. Because if us as individuals or as a family unit could not be swayed by enticing, dazzling elements, if you will, imposed by those that are maybe a few rungs of the social sphere above us, then they would never be able to deter us. So I think it's all of the above. But you feel me? So I do agree with what you say, that it is corruption. However, I believe that the corruption. Let's look at the basis of corruption. Only one can be corrupted if they have a secular desire in the first place, right?
Yes.
So if you have no secular desire, then you can't be corrupted. But that's the problem. I think that, Lucifer / Satan, what he realized is that, even Artificer, the thing of art, where so many people are utilizing their talents on social media, even to a point to where it's become infused within vanity and pride, wanting for other ones to see or have acknowledgement or significance based off of their talent prowesses, right, or their fortes. But that's the thing. I think that's the very thing that Lucifer at the very beginning, because he was made very beautiful in the eyes of the Most High. That's how he was created, and he led with that. And I believe that's how he was also able to cohere a third of the angels, which is a magnanimous number. And so if you could cohere a third of the angels, it'd be a walk in the park with mankind.
Do you think if there is finally a real, not a fake one, but a real roundtable discussion, if Jewish people come together with all their critics, the Kanye West, the Nick Cannon, I know you saw that Nick Cannon interview with the Jewish person. I felt it was okay, but we didn't deal with the brat tats, because I think it could have been a little better. I think Nick did well in the interview. Some people say he didn't, but I think he did well. However, though, do you think if we start having discussion about these issues, and Jewish people just put it out there, hey, this is what it is, this is what it's not, and let's ask all the questions, present all the evidence, and maybe we could get to the bottom of this. We think things will get better or worse, or you think that will never happen, and if you think it would never happen, why?
I want to understand the question. Do I think what would never happen?
Do you think that it will benefit Jewish people to sit down and say, hey, let's have a conversation with all our critics. Let's have a conversation with Kanye. Okay, he's coming, because Kanye, let me read another tweet that he sent to P. Diddy, actually, right? It's a little blurry. So let me just get it. This is actually, I'm going to read what P. Diddy sent to Kanye and what Kanye responded to to P. Diddy, and I think Diddy was upset because Kanye went to somewhere with White Lives Matter. So Diddy has been upset about that. So he says, nigga, send me an address. Let's stop playing these internet games and don't feel threatened. You will be fine. Just love. And this is what Kanye responds to Mr. Diddy. This ain't a game. IMA. I don't know what that stands for. IMA. You probably know. IMA. Use you as an example to show the Jewish people that told you to call me that no one can threaten or influence me. I told you this is war, right? This is war. This is Kanye's response to Mr. P. Diddy. So maybe there needs to be, a referee if somebody's just saying, listen, let everybody calm down. Is Kanye a good thing? Is he a good force for good? Is he a force for evil? Is he part of the problem, part of the solution? The guy's a billionaire. He could say and do whatever he wants. He could probably start his own, social media and do well. What is your views on what's going on here with Kanye? You think he's going crazy? A lot of people think he's already crazy. What say you?
Okay, yeah, so that's a good question. I actually saw that earlier today, the spat between them two. First off, they're originally they're friends, right? But Kanye is a very intricate individual. I identify with someone like his character. I have the propensity to have the same type of schematic type character, hit or miss. I think that's what happens when you have extremely explosive ideas within your mind constantly, and you want to be autonomous, right? You want to be sovereign. And I think Kanye West is just trying to really find his absolute voice, to be authentically who he is, without dealing with the duplicity that many of us have experienced in life. I know that might sound very abstract how I laid that out, but hopefully people could understand that it's very difficult to truly be yourself in this day and age and to be valued for actually being yourself, because our kindness can be taken for weakness and so many attributes, right? However, I think that Kanye West is really just trying to voice, listen, I don't want to go with the status quo. That's ultimately what he's doing. Diddy has been on this black excellence, black renaissance thing as of the past 2 or 3 years. He's experienced some significant loss in the recent years, and I think he's also having some self-checking moments in himself, because money absolutely does not bring joy and fulfillment, right? And I think what we're all doing, I think cohesively, even as individuals and as well as a unit on social media, is we're really trying to find our voice. We're really trying to find our space. So it's really difficult for me to kind of go against one or the other, because in one capacity, I kind of see where Diddy is coming from, where, well, man, why would you go on a red carpet event with Candace Owens and both of you being, African Americans, right, or Israelites, whatever term you like to use, but both of you are married to white counterparts. Candace Owens has a white husband. Kanye West recently went through a divorce with a white wife, right?
Shots fired. You do got a point there.
Right?
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, okay, Kanye's just being Kanye, trying to be controversial. I was like, the first thing I say, is he coming up with a new album? Is he launching a new, he's just trying to be crazy. Now, Owens, I like her. But yeah, I got to be honest with you. It does rub me the wrong way. And I'm not judging anybody who they love. When someone is such a, let me put this in the right words. I like to see Black and Latino power couples. I don't see that enough. I would have loved to have seen a male counterpart of her, like her husband saying the same thing and kind of being like the male version of her. And I was a little disappointed when I didn't see that, or I don't know her husband, what he stands for, yada yada yada. But it looks like she's the voice, she's the talent. I don't know what he does, and so for someone. And you're right. So it's almost sometimes it's almost a thing that the elite of our people, the best, brightest, best good looking, usually are dating outside people, and that's also happened in the Latino community too. So yeah, to be honest with you, it does bother me a little bit. I'm not saying I'm racist. I'm not. It doesn't. But what I'm saying from the concept of just, like for instance, I was proud a little bit with Mark Anthony and Jennifer Lopez. I wanted them to be kind of continue being a married couple and be and being a powerful Latino couple. Give me a black couple power. A lot of people may not like them, but Jay-Z and Beyonce. I love seeing a black power couple. You don't see that enough, so it does bother me a little bit. Not because I'm racist. It just bothers me because it's just not a good look. But I'm not judging who you fall in love with. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think I think what it is when there's a shortage, when there's a depletion with anything. So we understand that most, married Caucasian couples have a high propensity to stay together. Yes, they have divorce rates that are significant as well, but it's within the more ethnic communities, it's something that is brought to light. And so I think what it is like, I would like, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if many people could name 10, and I don't know if I'm really down with power couples per se, but just ethnic couples like that are together withstanding the test of time. And we know 2020, 2021, as well as 2022 has had astronomical public divorces, like literally like over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
There's been astronomical divorces within primarily, the black community, which is, like a friend of mine even, I'm not going to say who that is because he's going through some things right now with his wife, and both of them are, I wouldn't say that they're considered power couples, but they are within the public eye, and both of them are, she's a media personality. He's an actor. She was an actress. I'll leave it at that. But let's backtrack a little bit with the whole White Lives Matter T-shirt that Candace Owens and Kanye West wore.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking about that is, and this is my deep-rooted feeling, the better shirt that they could have maybe worn is No Lives Matter until All Lives Matter.
Yeah, that would have been a better shirt. Yeah, that would have been a better shirt. Way better shirt,
because I'm gonna be honest. So as long as we're trying to section off and deal with division, cohesiveness, stating what life is better than another, that's gonna absolutely cause division within the familyship of humanity. And my thing is, so as long as we're arguing about what lives matter or which ones don't. And another thing is everyone seems to be just so innately infatuated with black or white. What about all the other in-betweens, right? What about Native American? What about, Indian? I'm talking like Gandhi Indian in Eurasia, right? What about...
There was a T-shirt I wanted to, my boy PJ, wise old man, to do. We were hanging out. I was hanging in the house of having a black guy and a white guy, like going to war or like looking at each other with angry eyes, whatever. And then on top, all the brown people, all the non-white, non-black people, Asian, kind of like put it in the same, like we're all brothers, but then our brown brothers are looking at the white and black brothers like, when these two gonna get over this hate over each other? It's like, you get what I'm saying? Because you're right.
Yeah, I love that idea, actually.
The majority of people in the world are brown. But for some reason, we're stuck in this black and white narrative. I don't know. And I'm not dismissing legitimate concerns. There is racism. There is, power families that they control their power. They've been holding to their power for a long time and they don't want to let it go. I think there's new money coming out, like Kanye. Some people must say, what's his name? Elon Musk. Some people say, well, his father was kind of rich. Yeah, maybe. But, there's new money now. There's new, and it's just exciting to see this whole clash of old money versus new money, and the struggle to speak your mind in social media is a phenomenon to me. It's phenomenal to me. It's just like, wow, I did not know. You understand? Because you and I could have a conversation. And there's not one place in America, I think, that if you're having a conversation or a controversial conversation that you could get censored outside of social media, right? You can't get censored in your house, the barbershop. I could maybe see like in a restaurant, someone saying something racist or inappropriate, the owner kicks him out, right? But for the most part, speech is still free. It's just not free in private property. And I guess media is private property. And that's been a conversation that should the media be private property or should be like a square open forum, and it should be some form of
like a utility,
the
right?
utility
like
type of scenario. Yeah, that was the word we were looking for. But I don't know. It's just amazing to me how controversial conversation that I hear every single day as like coughing, like barbershop talk, right? Yeah, those Jews, they rule the world. No one ever hesitates. Everybody, like at least in my neighborhood, place I grew up in, right? This is common knowledge. No one is whispering, but in social media it becomes a scenario. Maybe it has value when you're in a social media. It's one thing if you're talking to 20 people in the barbershop, but another thing, you're talking to 20,000, 20 million people, right? Maybe that's the concern. I don't know. But I think we have to start having conversation. I think we should start inviting, instead of counseling, I think Kanye should be having a conversation with the Jewish people. Because maybe he could see a little different. Maybe they themselves are a little bit brainwashed. You get what I'm saying? Maybe they are also a victim of their belief. I mean, think about it. Let's just say if you were born Jewish from day one, you're God-chosen people. Everybody else is a goyim. Everybody is a beast. You're the image of God. I could mess you up psychologically. I'm hoping I'm making sense here.
Well, no, yeah, I'm making sense. And I have, quite a few Jewish friends. Just how I came up. I, went to the same schools. So, and believe it or not, and that's another thing that people have to understand. Even when, so there is that's where I'm looking for. There's a privilege, right? There's a privilege that comes along with being certain races and demographics based on where you are in the world, right? I think everyone understands that. I think there's a supreme privilege by being born white. There's a privilege by being born Asian. Now, it depends on what type of Asian. Japanese, Chinese tends to be at the top. Laos, Cambodian, Vietnamese tends to be at the bottom. Same thing in the Latino community, right? Right? It's like I have friends that are Portuguese, Panamanian, Venezuelan, Mexican.
There's privilege being a woman,
Ukrainian,
right?
Huh?
There's privilege being a woman to some degree.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So
And there's
my thing
disadvantages
is,
as well. There's disadvantages, to be fair.
yeah, there are advantages and there are disadvantages.
Yeah.
Even like being a black male, right? Advantages is like physically speaking, there are physical DNA-wide prowess that we just have over other races of people. It's just what it is. We run fast, we jump high. I'm talking about generally speaking. Of course, there's going to be an exception to every rule, but generally speaking, these are things, these are elements that certain people excel in. And I don't have a problem with it. My thinking is actually, I think the answer is to be eclectic. Like, why not be eclectic? We understand that predominantly Japanese and Chinese excel in school as well as in Indian communities, right? They excel in school. Why? Because they place that first and foremost within their aspirations.
Their culture, yeah. Their culture puts,
Exactly.
yeah. I think
It's part of their culture.
Yeah.
Why denigrate that? I think that's a great thing. So let's learn from that. And then on the other side of things, it's like, well, black people or whatever the case may be, people might deem us to be more physically enhanced, if you will. But that also goes along with, okay, you can there are certain parameters, certain steps that you could take to be able to enhance these things. So I feel like instead of denigrating any society, any culture, I would say, like, let's ask questions. I think one of the great things is that there is such a diversification within mankind. And the Most High God did that for a reason, because if we were all the same, right, I think that would be quite boring. It's kind of cool that we have all these diversities. And I'm kind of against pointing the finger. I really am, because there are a lot of Jewish people that have no idea that just because they are of, Jewish descent, if you will, right, doesn't mean that they go along with the nefarious side of the Jewish people that are in positions of power that are trying to rule absolutely.
Well,
They're
let me
just
ask you a
taking
question
advantage of
about
their
that.
Jewish.
Let me ask you a question
Yeah.
about that. And I do agree with you. It's like if an Italian does something wrong, oh, that must be because all Italians are down with the Italian mafia. Even there was an organization, an Italian organization that began to fight back against Hollywood, depicting all Italians as mafiosos, because every time you put an Italian in the television, he's always someone with the mob, right? And it was like, we want to change that image, right? And there's different groups, Latino groups, even African-American groups, fighting to proper representation, right, in Hollywood or in media in general. Do you think, and I do agree with you, that there's good and bad in every race, in every ethnic person or background, whatever, there's good and bad, right? There's good and bad gay people, there's good and bad white women, there's good and bad black women, there's good and bad black men, there's good and black Latino men, right? There's good bad in every racial group. But do you think there should be a more effort? And this, if I want to, like I said, I already made the disclaimer that Jewish people do not rule the world. That's what I don't believe. But maybe there needs to be a greater effort within Jewish people, good Jewish people, speaking against Jewish people that are taking advantage of their being Jewish with that privilege you mentioned earlier, and calling them out. And I want to point out a Jewish group that I believe, I mean, I agree with everything, but I do believe they're righteous. This is Jews against Zionism. Look them up. They will go harder on Jewish people, on their own Jewish brothers, that we are going right now. This is a cakewalk if we have one of them on the show, and they believe that Jews should not be running any country, should not have any government, because you trying to establish a government in Israel without the Messiah is sacrilege. It's against God's will, right? So they're against Zionism as a concept, because they believe that Jewish people are supposed to be living at peace among all the Gentiles, among the nations, until the Messiah restored them. I could rock with that. So I don't know if that group agrees with that Jewish group that I mentioned. You know what? To be fair, I should have also showed them to show you that not all Jewish people think that way. That all people, all non-Jews are goyim, yada, yada, yada. But maybe there needs to be more effort of good Jewish people pointing out that the bad behavior. What say you about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always beneficial when someone of someone's same creed or culture is the one who decides to challenge the thought, right? It's more acceptable, right? It's more acceptable for a Jewish individual to challenge some of the questionable antics of a particular race. If it comes from that same race, it's more palatable, it's more swallowable. You can handle it better versus it coming from another race, right?
Yeah.
Case in point, if a white man comes against the black community and speaks on the black community, we're like, well, what do you know about the black community where you can even have these ideas? Your ideas are skewed from the jump, my guy. So
right.
You really don't have, So I do agree with that. I do think and I think that's very tactful. However, there's a fear and there's a scare with a lot of people of, okay, because they're like, you also have to, like, let's be honest, when individuals do decide to do that and go against their own, if you will, even if it's honorable, they're kind of like losing their privilege card as well. So, I mean, that's something.
But
right.
maybe that's the whole psychological trick. Like it's like the Oz movie that the big wizard who was scary when we looked behind the curtain was like a little guy putting buttons, right? Maybe or like that movie Planet of the Apes, the remake, when there was a big tough gorilla in the jail. But when the guy Caesar, the monkey who got smarter and began to liberate all the other monkeys, the big monkey didn't want to get out of the cage because he was comfortable being a big bad man in his cage, but not out in the real world. Maybe they're not as powerful as we think they are, and maybe we are more powerful than we think we are. Maybe we have to come together with good Jewish people. Come together with good Israelites. Come together with good social, media people, and build a power structure, right? And that's why I'm starting this thing going God's way, brothers. I've been speaking to the brothers. I do apologize. I'm going to be having a meeting, hopefully in 2 weeks. It's going to be a Zoom meeting. If you want to be part of that meeting, send an email to IAMFITPodcast@gmail.com. The organization is called Man Going God's Way. You don't have to be part of a church. I don't care what church you're part of. You just got to believe in God and believe in the teachings of Christ. That's it. Everything else, I'll break down the other protocols in regards of being a member of this. It's a membership, but it's also an ideas and a philosophy. So in 2 weeks, I'm having a meeting. I'm going to have it on Sunday. I'm going to give you guys every show until the meeting. I'm going to be giving you guys announcements on the time and date and all that good stuff. Because I think it's when good people do nothing, evil prevails. And there's good and evil in every group. And I'm no longer just paintbrushing groups anymore as like Catholic people of this, Jewish people of that. I may not agree with them. We could put our differences, our religious beliefs in the side. We could debate that later. But if you're a good man, if you're about truth, honesty, righteousness, not taking advantage of other people, not being an opportunist of the weak, if you want to make the weak strong, you want to help the weak, you want to do good in the world, come call me. Let's have a conversation. Because I think these tribes are and these little cliques, whether it be Black, Hebrew, Israelite, Christian, Jewish, Muslims, and so forth, are keeping us separated. Now, there's going to be certain people we may not could rock with, but there's other people we can. I don't know. Like, for instance, Man Going God's Way, I don't think I could have a Muslim because You got to believe in the God in the Bible, not the Quran. And you got to believe in the teachings of Christ, right? They may argue what Allah is the same God, as the Bible, but I don't believe that. So there may be some restrictions there. However, though, I think we have to try to expand our horizon and speak to people that ordinarily we will not speak with. And maybe good men will stand up and finally stop bad men from doing bad things.
Yeah, well, I like the deduction of what Viktor Frankl said. He's the author. He was a psychiatrist. He's been gone for some time, but unfortunately, he's one of the psychologists / psychiatrists that the Western world kind of like eludes, because he was really dealing with, he wrote a great book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he was really dealing with the depths of what it really truly means to have purpose. And he really didn't even believe in, like depression and all these things. He believed that depression stemmed from a man or a woman having the lack of purpose. But one thing that he said is that there are only two races, and that's the race of the decent or indecent human being. And I thought that was brilliant. I actually thought that was brilliant, because I'll be honest with you, if I have a biological brother and we were reared and raised together, but if he is not a man of morals and integrity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I can't rock with you. Even Christ said, right, when he was in the house doing this sermon, and his mother and his brothers were trying to get through the thick of the crowd to get to him, and said, Christ, your mother and your brother are here to see you. They can't get through the crowd. He said, hold up. Christ said, who is my mother? Who is my brother? And then he pointed to his disciples. He said, those who do the will of my father, the same as my mother and my brother, right? So even Christ was letting you know, like, listen, to do the will of my Father. And let's not forget that it says in the scriptures that be ye holy as your Father in heaven is holy. I mean, that's a big statement right there.
Right, but I think, and let me ask you a question, and this is what I've been feeling for the last year. That us Christians are too preoccupied in being religious, which is, or religious is a bad word, but like you said, be holy. And obviously, that word holy is being set apart, right? Don't do what the world do.
Yeah.
Don't be common, right? Be holy, be set apart, right? And of course, we keep Sabbath. We keep the dietary laws. You keep the high holy days that is mentioned in the Bible, right? And that's how we believe of course, we don't lie, we don't steal, we don't murder, we don't commit adultery, we don't, right? But I think we're too much occupied on being holy and not spreading and inspiring people to also be holy through our actions, feeding the poor, doing good works. I think that is equally as important, because I think that was the whole thing that Christ was trying to tell us, to teach the Pharisees, because the Pharisees, I think the word Pharisees means the separate ones. Scholars, let me know on the chat what the word Pharisee means. I think the separate ones or something. And they began to believe holier than thou. And I think what's happening with the Jewish people is the same thing that was happening with the Pharisees in the first century. Now, I believe, with all the respect, Jewish people, please don't cancel me. I don't believe that you guys are the descendants of the true biblical Hebrews, but it's okay. Let's put that aside for a minute. Some of you, maybe, I could be wrong, but from my research, I believe that you guys are more likely the product of convert, but I could be wrong. But clearly, the modern Jewish people today are the best representation of what the Pharisees were thinking and doing in first century Judea. So maybe the Jewish people is showing us today what would happen if the Pharisee were on power. And let's say the Pharisee was still alive today, the literal people, and they were a power structure going back to first century Judea. Well, we be thinking about the same thing we're thinking about Jewish people. In regard to the Pharisees, the same way we think about Jewish people. Maybe the religion is corrupting the mind. When you're thinking you're separate and apart, you're better, you're holy. Those, and Christ was trying to teach the Pharisee, hey, a physician comes to heal those that are in need healing. Maybe you have to get yourself a little dirty and not be so clean. I don't know. I'm just maybe we're missing the mark here and this Jewish or Hebrew Israelite or Judean or I hope I'm making sense here. Maybe we have to start engaging and becoming friends with sinners. Are. And maybe, you get what I'm, and not only become friends with sinners, but just be good to them. Inspire them. Don't judge them and try to convert them. Just be their friend and do good. I don't know. I'm probably random here. What say you?
I absolutely agree. The whole differentiation between the Old Testament and the New Testament is literally the old was the letter of the law, and that's where the Pharisaical mindset was. It's almost like a textbook. You have to follow this to a T, and this is your entryway into. And believe it or not, Pharisees had a very separatist, extremely judgmental idealization based off of their educational prowess, which is the same thing that any culture or sect might have because they're in a position of power, but they're leading with their education. And here's a difficult thing dealing with education. Unfortunately, not everyone is dealt the same hand. So what happens if you're a Pharisee, or even today, you happen to be of a more privileged? And here's the thing: the only thing that causes you to be more privileged is just really the zip code that you're born in the United States of America.
It's just luck.
Based off the real talk, it really is, man. Because a lot of people don't even know. As far as the schools are concerned, the schools, even public schools, gain all of their funding from where? The taxation of the homes that are within that zip code. That's it.
Yeah, and
so
also, Trent, I got 2 missed calls, and I don't think I could grab another one. You calling in? I got a.
Oh yeah, I'll hang up. No problem.
No, hold on. Yeah, I want to finish your thought. 916 area code. I want to hear your thoughts as well. But go ahead, Trent. Finish your thought.
Oh, 916. That's from the Sacramento right there. That's that sack town right there. Go ahead, man. I'm a listen in, fam.
All right, man. So how you doing? Yeah. I know what's been there. It's been a while. So what's the latest? People haven't heard from you. What's going on with Trent Cameron these days?
Man, well, brothers like yourself, other brothers, from the body, and even some secular brothers, man. The beautiful thing is I'm just, on the trajectory of learning, peace, serenity, growing. So I'm doing much better. Hopefully, people are able to kind of deduce that through my conversation. I'm a bit more coherent now as a result. So, yeah, man, I'm feeling great, man. And it's brothers and friends, like yourselves and others that, and that's what it's all about. We have to uplift one another and be there. And I know it could be very tedious to deal with a character like myself. But I promise you, if you're able to realize the right people to, instill and put that time in with, what is it? What's the quote? You could treat a man as he is, and he'll remain the same. If you treat a man as he can be, he may become that. So I'll leave it with that, fam. And I love you much, bro.
All right, peace. Thank you, Brother Trent. That was Brother Trent doing his thing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. I'm still waiting for your podcast, because, we need to hear more positive voices, Shout out to Wise Old Man, PJ in the house. Thank you for supporting. It says, however, I mean, however, when you do virtual down to rabbi, the rabbit hole, why does it become a rabbit hole? Just saying. And listen, you have no argument with me in regards that I do believe that there's a Jewish mafia. I do believe there's a Jewish mafia of Jewish people that use the Jewish identity to get political and social, economic power. I do believe that. I do believe that with all my heart. And I believe that good Jewish people have to get rid of the Jewish mafia. Like the Italians got rid of the Italian mafia. You got the Russian mafia, and just because there's a Russian mafia or there is MS-13, right? That's like the Mexican mafia, right? The Italian mafia doesn't mean that we hate Italians, we hate Mexicans, we hate Russians. In every community, there is a criminal underworld. And I think there's a Jewish mafia that the Jewish people have to address and say, you know what, we have to get rid of this. And shout out for, the Jews against Zionism. I don't think they get enough credit for speaking truth to power. And they're saying, Zionism is the worst thing that ever happened to the Jewish people because it has put them in a demonized position that the concept of Zionism has created this resentment towards Jewish people. The concept of Zionism is only like 120 years old. It's not ancient. In Zionism, and for people to understand what that is that prior to Zionism, Jewish people was more. The best way to describe Jewish people in Europe was more like, especially Eastern Europe, Eastern European Jewish folks. It's like the Amish of Europe. The Amish people today is like a separate religion, then separate culture, but it's different. But it was not race or, necessarily. And that's why I believe that the majority of Jewish people are a product of converts. Even rabbis had admitted that many of the sages are Roman converts. Onkelos was a Roman Jewish rabbi. He was, a Roman convert. So the 916, so if anybody missed earlier or called when Trent was talking, you can call back. I'll grab you now because I'm about to end the show. Or if you want to do the Zoom, you can come in that way as well. In that way as well. And I believe in the scriptures. I believe that the son of perdition is going to be revealed, whoever that is. And I'll leave it there. But Jewish people, if you guys believe that there is a problem within the Jewish mafia, you got to address it and you got to fight against it. And you have to say, there is, a Jewish underworld that we have to root out of the Jewish community. Because this thing is getting old. It's getting tired. Right? And another thing we have to address is that just because you're criticizing a people, it doesn't mean you hate the people. I could criticize the Chinese Communist Party. It doesn't mean I hate Chinese people. I could criticize the Catholic religion. It doesn't mean I hate Italians or every Catholic. I hope I'm making sense. I hope that my channel doesn't get taken down because of this. I have no hate in my bone. This is not about hate. This is just a discussion. This is barber shop talk. This is what us men in my college, we talk about. Counseling does not work, and I will mark my words. When you cancel people, you just make them stronger. You just make them more relevant. You make them more powerful. You make them more resilient. And people ain't scared no more. They're not scared. They're not concerned. Because they know they people understand that it's about, if you could make your own money, if you could make your own product, you could make your own, separate and apart outside of these major conglomerate companies. And now people are doing that more than ever. Cancel, wancel, it doesn't matter. Because what you're doing, I can't be on TikTok. Oh my God, I can't be on TikTok. What else you got? Andrew Tate is a good example of that. He's more powerful now. I see him more now than ever before. And he's supposed to be canceled. An idea is bulletproof. An idea cannot be killed. An idea cannot be shot. An idea cannot be stopped. So in that, I just want to thank you guys for sharing a little time with me, having a little conversation with me. I hope I didn't offend anybody. I'm just here to make you think, and maybe you can make me think a little bit. Shalom, peace, and blessings. May the God of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob watch over you. And let the Messiah come speedily and quickly, because I'm done with this world. I don't know about you, but I'm done. Peace and shalom.